Welcome back to another explainer. Today we're heading out to the verdant slopes of Nilachal Hill in Assam, India, to explore a place of profound mystery, ancient mythology, and just raw spiritual power. We are talking about the Kamakhya Temple. This is a site where the primal forces of nature and divinity are intertwined in a way that, frankly, you won't see anywhere else on Earth. Okay, let's dive right into this, because right off the bat, we're hit with a massive paradox. Kamakhya is a world-renowned sanctuary, the literal epicenter of a huge spiritual following. And yet, if you walk into its absolute most sacred space, you are not going to find what you'd expect. So we have to ask, why does one of India's most powerful temples have absolutely no idol? Section 1. The Idol-less Temple. To really wrap our heads around this, we've got to look at what's actually inside. Imagine descending this set of dark, really narrow, steep stone steps that lead deep down into a subterranean cave. This is the Garbhagriha, the inner sanctum. But there's no carved statue waiting for you. Instead, you'll find a sheet of stone sloping downwards, meeting in a 10-inch deep, yoni-shaped rock fissure. This yoni, which symbolizes the female reproductive organs, is constantly moistened by a natural underground spring. And this aniconic, purely natural phenomenon isn't just a symbol. It is literally worshipped directly as the goddess Kamakhya herself. Section 2. The Legend of Sati. So how exactly did a geological fissure become the absolute center of such intense devotion? Well, it all goes back to the concept of the Shakti Peethas. In the Hindu tradition of Shaktism, think of these as highly sacred destinations where pieces of the goddess Sati's body are actually believed to have fallen to earth. And out of the 51 Shakti Peethas spread all across the subcontinent, Kamakhya is widely considered one of the oldest and most revered for. The ancient 10th century text, the Kalika Purana, spells out exactly how this dramatic origin story played out. Following the tragic death of the goddess Sati, a completely grief-stricken Lord Shiva performs the Tandav, this epic cosmic dance of destruction, all while carrying her corpse. And as he danced, pieces of Sati's body fell to the earth. Well, Nilachal Hill was the very spot where Sati and Shiva used to retire in secret, and it is precisely where her yoni, her womb, and the very center of creation fell. Section 3. Architecture and the 10 Mahavidyas. Now, what's really interesting here is the physical temple itself. It's a survivor, with a history that's just as layered as the mythology. We can actually trace its timeline right here. Archaeological evidence points to an original Nagara-style temple built by the Mlecha dynasty way back around the 8th or 9th century. Fast forward centuries later to 1498, and it gets destroyed during Hussein Shah's invasion. But the site definitely wasn't forgotten. In 1565, the temple was completely reconstructed under the Koch king Nar-Narayan, supervised by his general Chilarai, and brought to life by an incredibly innovative artisan named Meghamakdama. Now, Meghamakdam faced a huge challenge. Trying to rebuild the original stone ruins into a traditional spire was proving to be too difficult. So he improvised. He brought in brick masonry, pulling from Bengal Islamic architectural influences, to create what we now call the Nilachal-type architecture. It's this brilliant hybrid, a bulbous hemispherical brick dome resting right on a cruciform stone base. It's a perfect visual representation of the blending of cultures in that region. But the architectural fusion is just the start. The Kamakhya complex is famously home to the 10 Mahavidyas. These are the 10 cosmic forms of the Divine Mother in Shaktism, ranging from the fierce Kali all the way to the protective Tara. What you should really take away from this is just how insanely rare it is to have all 10 of these distinct, powerful manifestations of the goddess residing together within one single temple complex. And take a close look at this number, exactly 3. Out of those 10 Mahavidyas, 3 of them, Tripura Sundari, Matangi, and Kamala, reside directly inside the main temple alongside Kamakhya. The other 7? They are honored in their own individual temples, scattered all across the surrounding Nilachal Hill complex. It forms this massive, interconnected ecosystem of divine feminine worship. Section 4. The Ambubachi Mela. Now, this entire spiritual ecosystem hits its absolute peak once a year, right in the middle of June, during the Ambubachi Mela. It is an extraordinary event. It's an annual tantric fertility festival that actually celebrates the yearly menstruation course of the goddess Kamakhya. This all coincides with the heavy monsoon season. And during this time, the mighty Brahmaputra River literally swells and its waters turned visibly red. It's an incredibly powerful natural phenomenon, symbolizing the creative, nurturing menses of Mother Earth herself. Let's move through this and see how it builds, because it's a very structured 4-day period of sacred seclusion. Step 1 is prabhuti. The temple doors are firmly shut. Step 2 is 3 days of rest. Much like traditional menstrual seclusion, the goddess rests, and the devotees observe strict restrictions. No farming, no cooking, no reading holy books. Step 3 is nribhuti, where the goddess receives a ritual bath to return to her original form. And finally, step 4, the doors reopen for joyous celebration, darshan, and the giving of prasad. To put this into perspective and show you how this ancient ritual plays out in the real world today, just look at the schedule for the upcoming 2026 Ambubachi Mela. At exactly 9:26 p.m. on June 22nd, those doors will close. You're going to have hundreds of thousands of people waiting outside during those closed days, just buzzing with anticipation, until the morning of June 26th when the temple finally reopens to the masses. And when those doors finally do swing open, the devotees are all seeking the ultimate blessing, which is handed out in 2 highly sought-after forms of prasad. First, you have angodak, which is the literal fluid water collected from that sacred underground spring. Then there's angabastra, a piece of the red cloth that was actually used to cover the yoni rock fissure during the days of menstruation. Receiving either of these is considered a profound, direct transfer of the goddess's life-giving energy. Section 5. Epicenter of Tantric Worship. This deep, intense focus on the physical elements, the water, the cloth, the earth itself, is really the hallmark of the spirituality practiced here. Kamakhya is the recognized center of the Kulachara Tantra Marga, and it beautifully accommodates multiple paths of devotion. The temple honors both Vamachara, the esoteric left-hand path of Tantra, and Dakshinachara, the right-hand path. This neutral accommodation is a stunning reflection of the site's history, effortlessly fusing its ancient Kirata indigenous tribal roots with later Brahmanical integration. Everyone finds a home at Kamakhya. And, that radical inclusion is never more obvious than during the Ambubachi Mela. The sheer diversity of the pilgrims is mind-blowing. You've got sannyasins, black-clad agoras, the wandering bowels singing minstrels from West Bengal, brilliant scholars and sadhus with long matted hair. It's this vast gathering of hundreds of thousands of spiritual seekers, some of whom literally emerge from deep seclusion just for this one singular event. And the dedication you see on display, it is completely awe-inspiring. Some tantric babas make their only public appearance of the entire year right here. They physically demonstrate their intense spiritual focus through psychic feats. We're talking about standing on their heads in pits, or the Kade Babas, standing upright on a single leg for hours at a stretch. It's this raw, undeniable dedication that takes the incredibly complex philosophy of Shaktism and brings it vividly to life right before your eyes. So as we wrap up this explainer, it's clear the Kamakhya Temple is so much more than just stone and myth. It's a living, breathing testament to the power of nature, the divine feminine, and the lengths we will go to connect with the source of creation. So I want to leave you with a thought to ponder. When you see how this ancient site so deeply, so literally reveres the natural biological cycles of Mother Earth, how does that change your perspective on creation? And where do we find divinity in our modern world? Thanks for joining us on this journey, and keep learning.